Welcome to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on any platform that you're listening on. All right, welcome back to another show. Thank you for listening. Please share this episode with a friend. If everyone shares it once, we'll double our listeners. For all you math people out there. All right. By the way, today is July 14th. Yesterday and the day before was Amazon Prime Day. Big shopping day. If you all did your shopping without a VPN, you really probably left yourself out there. Your information swinging in the wind. I'm sure hackers were looking at the Amazon information as all the transactions were going through. But if you were protected by a VPN, particularly private internet access, which you can pick up at drivewaybeerspodcast.com. Go ahead and click on that link. We do get a small commission if you do. If you click on it, it helps support the show. But it would have protected all your credit card information. It encrypts it, so when it goes over to Amazon, nobody can intercept it. It also protects your address, your name, and also what you purchase. So that way people can't. You don't get the guy from India or Nigeria, trying to say, "Oh well, I see you bought a lug nut. Do you have a new car warranty?" Because they're pushing those car warranties heavy on the phone.
If I'm buying parts for my car, chances are I don't have a warranty.
That's very true. That's a good point. Although maybe they're trying to sell you the new car and the one. Who knows? Who knows what's going on in Nigeria?
Well, no, you just have to send them. Let him park $1 million in your bank account. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets here, when his assets are unfrozen, he'll give you $500,000.
That's right.
Yeah, that's how that works. I'm still waiting for my $500,000.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing that can go wrong with that. It's 100% foolproof. But yeah, get a VPN. Private internet access is what I use right now. I think they're doing 39 months, and I want to say it's close to $60 right now. It's like the lowest price I've ever seen from them. So go ahead and grab that. All right. Obviously, economic things are happening. Inflation is up. We're hearing a lot about a recession. But one thing that not too many people are talking about is that people have been waiting to buy cars because the prices went through the roof. That was part of the inflation. It had something to do with the chip shortage, the shipping. There were a number of factors that went into it. But car prices went way up on new and used cars. But the used car market looks as though there are some factors that are going to come into play so that the car prices should come down in the next few months. One of those is wholesale prices are coming down. And the reason being is that more cars are going through the wholesale auctions. And the reason behind that is that bank repossessions are up a lot over the last 3 months. And it takes a little while for a bank repo to get to an auction. And the banks they're not stupid. So they're not taking all these repos and just flooding the auctions. Because if they do that, the prices go way down real quick. So they're trying to create more of a soft landing. But the wholesale prices that the dealers are paying are going down on used cars. You might have to wait a couple of months to get some of the garbage out of there. Mm-hmm. But one more factor in this is, and what is a larger indication of a recession, is it's not the subprime loans that are getting repoed. It's also prime loans. So people that were flush with cash that probably applied for a loan and were using some government assistance on their loan application that no longer are getting that government assistance probably can't make those payments anymore. So they basically their income was inflated, which allowed them to get a loan in the first place. And now that their income isn't what they said it was on a steady basis, they're not able to make those payments. And one of the first things people don't pay is that car note.
Yep.
Because you can live in a house, but the car might have to go. But it was interesting to hear about that the used car prices might go down. So anyone who was kind of waiting for the prices, if they got priced out of the used car market, this might be a good sign to come in the next couple months. I know for me personally, I've been looking for a used car, so I might get double bonus points on this because I'm looking for a big thirsty V8 with gas prices high. And if the if the prices on all of this stuff is coming down, I might get a double whammy on the price of one of these things. So I might get a nice little deal out of this if I wait just a couple more, like a month or two.
Yeah, betting on that. People want to get into something more fuel efficient, but
Right.
So I remember when, I guess it was 2008, maybe it was 07, when the fuel price last time the gas got real high,
Yeah.
and people were unloading trucks and Suburbans and stuff like that, and the price came down. But I mean, I've been looking around too, and I've seen like the price is still pretty high on those. So maybe the impact hasn't been felt yet, or
You got to remember though, what they have in their lot now, they purchased last month, the month
Yeah.
before. So you're not seeing it on the car lots yet. The
Yeah.
impact of it, because now they're in a rough spot. Because if no one buys the truck on the lot now for the price that they need just to break even, if they run it through auction, they're going to lose money.
yeah,
So a lot of them are cutting. Like this, I go on Car Gurus and Cars.com, and it tells you when the price has been dropped. This last month, I'd say, was probably the first time in a while I started to see like a lot of price drops, like 500, 1,000, like not 100, 200,
yeah,
500, 1,000, 1,500. Like some of these dealers are starting to get aggressive because they don't want to get stuck with these cars, especially if they're floor planning them. Now,
Yeah.
when floor planning, there's a guy on YouTube called Chevy Dude. Used to work at a Chevy store, obviously, sold Corvettes, and then he left that and started his own car dealership called Mike's Car Shop. It's out in Indiana. I don't know if it's any good or not, but the guy does decent YouTube videos as far as letting you inside how the dealership works. A small private dealership. And he talks about floor planning. And floor planning is essentially what a car dealer is allowed to borrow in order to buy cars and put it on his floor, what they call the floor. But it's the dealer lot, right?
Yeah.
But he's got to pay interest on those cars. So these guys bought these cars, let's say a month or two ago when the prices are still high. They're paying interest on it now because, let's say the month after, someone bought the same car and the price went down. So the dealership 3 miles down the road can sell that same car, let's say for 1,000 or 2,000 less, because they got it for 1,000 or 2,000 less at the wholesale dealership.
just by virtue of buying it this month as opposed to last month.
Right. And that's one, if the car prices drop really, really fast, you're going to get some dealers that are just going to lose their shirt if they don't sell quick. And I think a lot of them know that right now, if they're following the trends that are going on, and most of them do. If they don't offload now, they're going to get stuck 2 months from now.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact they're being paid 2-3 months worth of interest on that car. But not only that, they might have to sell it for like a $3,000-$4,000 loss. And for a small dealership, that's not chump change.
Right. Yeah, it's like CarMax can absorb that.
Of course, yeah.
Or
AutoNation.
Criswell or any of those
Yeah.
big guys. But, especially if they're doing new cars as well as the used cars.
Right.
But if you're just, like one of these corner lots that is, that's going to be tough. And then I imagine it would probably be best for them to take the small L now rather than take the big L and really have to eat that sandwich in 3 months.
Yeah, and the other thing is, so like the big new car dealership down the road, yeah, they ended up buying more used cars during this time period because new cars were scarce, right, because of the chip shortage. But once they sell off most of their inventory, they're already getting new cars back quicker than they used to, because the chips have been coming back online, and the factories have been coming back online. I believe in like Japan, I think the Toyota factories have increased output by 10 to 20% already. So they're going to start shipping more stuff here. So the new car lots are going to tend to, they may not fill up like they were before, but I think the prices on new cars are going to stabilize a little bit, especially as the used car prices go down. Because people now, I mean, they were looking to order new cars because the used cars are so expensive. Mm-hmm. Well, if used car prices go back to the gap that they used to have between new cars, well, now you got the people that were going to buy used are now going to go back to buying used rather than saying, well, look, there's only a $3,000 gap. I might as well get the new one.
Right. Yeah, that's isn't that where you were when you bought your?
That's exactly what happened. It was a $3,000 gap.
Yeah.
And it was a 2 or 3 year old car out of warranty because it had the 30,000 miles. It basically it was a lease that got turned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once you hit 30,000 miles on most of these manufacturers, your warranty's done. Mm-hmm. So it was basically I just paid $3,000 to go 30,000 less miles and 3 full years of warranty.
Yeah.
In a car sense, that makes sense. But let's say that car, that 3-year-old car was now, $10,000 less.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not looking at that new car. I would never have gone new. Mm-hmm. So people like me are now out of the new car game and are now looking for the used cars.
Yeah.
But new car dealerships, though, part of the reason why the used car market went up was because the new car dealers didn't have new cars to sell. So they were also buying used cars at the wholesale auction, which was shooting the price up. Because now you got the used car dealers and the new car dealers all buying the used cars. And you got more buyers. And some of these new car dealers, they have huge pockets.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like a lot of your new car dealerships are like Penske owned. Even though they don't say Penske, they're either owned by Penske or AutoNation.
Yep.
Or I mean, everyone knows CarMax is CarMax. They don't hide their names. So Browns is another big one. And sometimes you'll see like Browns City Honda, or Browns Toyota.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't put Browns on the front. Mm-hmm. And so you don't know who it is.
Yeah. You see, what was the other one? Ray Hall.
Yeah, Ray Hall's another one.
Yeah.
Asbury Auto Group. Mm-hmm. That I guarantee nobody has ever heard the name Asbury Auto, but they're a huge car dealership. And the only reason why I know is my college roommate works for them, and he was the director of finance for one of their Texas shops. And so just because he worked there, I looked them up. And back then they were small. Mm-hmm. They were I think they were based out of Connecticut. But then they started buying up more auto groups, and they consolidated a lot of them. And that's what Penske did. Mile One is another one. Mm-hmm. AutoNation was one of the ones that kind of started that.
Then you have your big local ones like here. Sheehy is huge.
Yeah.
But then I guess the next bigger fish would be one of these Mile One or Penske that would go and buy up.
But you got Bayside.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Bayside's all over this place.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of them until they bought one of the Sheehy Nissan dealership. Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, they own the Jeep dealership that used to be Adams Jeep.
Okay.
So the one on West Street.
Yeah.
So that used to be an Adams dealership. Now, I don't know if they bought all of Adams dealerships, but that Bayside group is a large group. Mm-hmm. Sheehy, yeah, you're right. Sheehy, large group in our area.
Yeah. And then there's but then if you look at, there's Nissan of Bowie, Honda of Bowie, Toyota. I was trying to figure out who were them.
I think that's Mile One.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because BMW of Annapolis is Mile One.
Okay, and then there's Honda of Annapolis.
Yes. So I think all Mercedes-Benz of Catonsville, I think or Mercedes-Benz of Annapolis, I think they're all part of that Mile One group. I'm not sure. It's either Mile One or Car One.
Okay.
And I don't remember which is which.
Yeah.
But Subaru of Annapolis, Hyundai of Annapolis, I think they're all owned by that one group. Mm-hmm. I'm not positive, though.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that might just be a really odd coincidence that they're all named like that.
Could be. But that's a neat business. I have some buddies that were a guy I work with who was really that's what he did before he changed careers. But it's kind of cutthroat, and then the way the manufacturers treat the dealers. You can piss off somebody and they'll send you they'll send you the terrible colors. the option packages that nobody wants. And then to get to the upper tiers, like, so Ford, back when they still had SVT, there were certain Ford dealerships that were SVT dealerships.
Yep.
So you couldn't buy an SVT Mustang or Lightning or one of my favorite cars ever, the SVT Contour, at a dealership that was not an SVT dealership. And then they'll give certain cars out to like when the Supra came out. So like they'll say, okay, I bought a car for it, I don't remember what it is, the Toyota dealership in Annapolis, you'll get one Supra to sell.
Right.
But just to get one of them was crazy. Like,
it was like the Broncos.
Yeah.
With Ford and the Broncos or the Lightning. Mm-hmm. I remember it was about 2 years ago. Ford basically said, if you price gouge customers right now, we won't send you any Lightnings.
Yeah.
And the Lightning was like the truck everyone wanted.
Yeah.
And still right now. Now whether they followed through or not, I don't know. It's interesting though, because are we on the heels of a recession in which everything is going to go down and then cars just kind of go down with it? Because I think the main car manufacturers were looking to revamp their entire business model. Like, I think a lot of them want to go direct, like Tesla's doing.
Right.
And Ford set up that separate company to do that with their electric models. Mm-hmm. They haven't done it. I mean, they've set up the company if they want to go that way, but they haven't done it yet. But what a lot of them are doing is saying, look, we're not going to ship as many vehicles. We're going to let you're basically going to be the delivery unit now. Mm-hmm. Have people come in, they can order online, or you can help them put together the order.
Yeah.
But the days of having a lot full of cars is over. At least that's the way they wanted it to go.
Yeah. Well, I think as much as, I mean, really, it makes a lot of sense, because if you think of, what do they call that? Not on-demand inventory, but
just in time.
Yeah, just-in-time inventory. Like, you have this huge lot that just has cars parked on it. It's kind of a waste of space. They have to pay. Now, granted, Ford Motor Company is not paying tax on Sheehy Ford's lot, but Sheehy is. So rather than, but I mean, I think it would be neat to see. I think as people get, as the population gets more tech savvy, as like Gen X and millennials and stuff start to move up and the boomers start to move out and are no longer buying cars, I think you're going to see more people going that route. I was with a buddy of mine, and we were out goofing around on a day off, and his wife was buying a car. Like, he and his wife were buying, it was a Volkswagen Passat diesel. They were buying. So he drove down there. We had to stop at the VW dealership in Waldorf, and he ran in, essentially to swipe his credit card for the down payment, because he bought the entire thing online.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, when it gets here, it'll be here in 3 weeks. We'll call you. And I was like, man, that's the way to do it. Like, no, there's all that haggling and stuff, and like this guy going back to talk to this guy, and
right.
And this guy buys a lot of cars. He spends money on cars. Funny story. He went to buy they were going to buy they wanted to get, he likes to tow like campers and toys and stuff. So he had a Ford F-350. He was looking at a 350 or a Ram 2500. So his wife, she's really sharp, and knows, she's not like into cars like he is, but she knows enough about it. So the salesman called and said, hey, is your husband there? And she said, no, but I'm here. I'm involved in this. He goes, well, no, I think this is probably something that your husband want to talk about.
Way to lose a sale.
Yeah. So he emailed her back and was like, hey, I haven't heard from you about this truck. And all she did was send him a picture of her standing in front of the Ram 3500 dually. But he bought all his stuff online.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, and the one dealer said, oh, you can't get the car at that price. Okay. So he went and found it. So.
Yeah, I've done it both ways. I mean, like, so the Kia Cadenza I bought it out at a dealership in Fairfax. Is like an hour away from me. And I saw it online. I sent the dealership an email saying, hey, Yeah, I like the car. This is what I want to pay for it. Let me know if you can do it. Mm-hmm. And they came back and said, sure. When can you be here? Mm-hmm. And that was it. And I went out there. I said, look, I'll be there in 2 hours. Let me get, let me get out. And that was it. And I went out 2 hours later, signed. So basically, I just did it all through email.
Yeah.
And that was a used car. The new car with the Chevy was all done over the phone or text message. Mm-hmm. Basically, was like, hey, I like this one. Says you got it on you're on your lot. You still have it? Yep, I got it. Okay. I basically said, any wiggle room on the price?
Yeah.
So this is what it says on the GM website. Can you get down to that price? And the guy was like, no, but I can get you within $500. Done. All right, I'll be down there. Mm-hmm. So I did that. That's the last 2 cars I've done. The other one, when I bought my wife's car about 5 years ago, it was very much a touch and feel situation because I didn't know what I wanted. So I had to go, especially with used cars. Mm-hmm. I need to drive them. I need to go there. I need to drive them because, especially with used cars, I could drive 2 of the same car and they'll drive completely differently.
Yeah.
Because they just weren't taken care of. Something, or it's just like something doesn't show up in the pictures or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or a used car you get in, it smells bad.
Right.
Because someone had a wet dog in there, or was a smoker, or
new car. But even with new cars, though, it's kind of like that, and not with the smells and all this stuff. But for example, if I gave you the choice of a brand new RAV4 or a brand new Equinox, which would you take?
I'd probably go for the Toyota.
Of course. I think 95% of America would say the same thing. If this price was equal, which one would you take? Mm-hmm. I almost guarantee 95% of the people were going to say the Toyota. Better brand, better overall reliability, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So my mother's got a brand new Toyota RAV4. I went and drove it the other day. And of course, I've got my Equinox. Now, mine's a 2021, hers a 2022, whatever. Same body. The 2022 Equinox is the same as 2021. So even if you drove the same, the 2022s of each, this is going to sound absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. But when I sit in the Equinox, and I close the door and I press the button for it to turn on, I don't hear the engine in my Equinox. I go in my mother's car, I press the button to turn it on, I hear a lot of the engine. Mm-hmm. They're both 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
And you step up, it's like for me, the Toyota on the inside, and I know Chevy gets knocked for this about the plasticky interiors, but the Toyota had the same plasticky interiors.
GM's done a lot with their interiors. I want to say since like 20, let's go 09, 2010, like since that, when they had to shutter Saturn and Pontiac. And it's a real shame that Pontiac got shut down when it did, because they were starting to, like, the G8 was awesome.
The G8 is still, people still pay up for that thing. Yeah. The G8 GTP.
Yep.
People still pay up
for that
thing.
And, I remember when I was a kid, like, I guess the equivalent would have been the Pontiac Grand Prix GTP.
Yep.
But if you got, which was, it was no slouch. Now, granted, it had a 4-speed automatic transmission, front wheel drive, but it was a supercharged 3.8 liter V6. It had some power to it.
That was the Bonneville.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, or did the Grand Prix GTP have it? The Bonneville SSEI.
Yeah.
My dad had that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. He had the SSE. Mm-hmm. The SSEI had the turbocharger in it.
I think.
I don't know if the Grand Prix had.
Let's look up. Let's see what the Google machine has to say.
All right.
But
I'll try and talk while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was really surprised. Now, don't get me wrong. The engine in the Toyota and the transmission will probably live forever, and my Chevy will probably be dead in 2 years. I've already said I had transmission issues, which, whatever they did when they reprogrammed it, even though they told me they weren't going to do anything, I know they did the reprogramming with, and I haven't had the shift issue since. So maybe that reprogramming fixed it, but I don't know how the long-term reliability for the Equinox. All I know is that when I'm driving it, it feels better put together than the Toyota. Okay. And I never thought I would say that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's high-class interiors, but you're talking about Econobox SUVs here. I mean, you're talking about smallish, mid-size SUVs.
Oh yeah.
That are built to the same spec as like a compact car.
Yep.
You know, like a Malibu or whatever, or the Corolla.
Yeah.
You know, they're not built for luxury and quietness and all this other thing. But if I sit in the Chevy and I close the door and I step on the gas, I don't hear a clattering four-cylinder. I don't hear a clattering four-banger.
Yeah.
The turbo doesn't sound like garbage. When I sit in my mother's car and I drive it, all I hear is engine noise.
Yeah.
And road noise. It's like there's no insulation in this thing
Yeah,
whatsoever.
and that's been a complaint with, I think Toyota and Honda have both had that.
Honda's always had that reputation.
So we have an answer. The GTP in '97, it was a supercharged 3.8 liter V6.
V6? So I think the Bonneville was a V8. No, I could be wrong with that too. Gee, the Bonneville SSEI was the one that had the supercharger.
But there were two different kind of cars. The Bonneville was more of a
it was full size.
Yeah.
It was the big, like, it was on the Impala platform and the Buick, whatever the big Buick was at the time. They were all set on that platform. And then I always thought the 4-door Grand Prix. I wasn't a big fan of the 2-door Grand Prix. But the 4-door Grand Prix, once they got rid of the wavy side cladding.
Oh, the polyps and barnacles.
Once they got rid of that, man, I thought that was a really nice looking car.
Yeah.
It sat low to the ground. You know, it didn't have like that raised rear end. It just looked like a sleek car. But then you got inside and it looked like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it had like the 3-slide equalizer thing on the radio. It just looked like it was like a Fisher Price. Like the radio looked like it was made by Fisher Price.
Yeah, like it was like a child would have it.
Yes.
So
awful.
Let's see. I'm looking up the 10th generation Bonneville here.
I think my dad had like a '98 Bonneville.
Okay, so they put the 4.6 liter North Star in that,
did they?
Which that engine had some bad problems. But
It did. They fixed it in like the 2003, 2004 era, but 2000 or early 2000s, 99s. Ooh, head bolts blasted galore.
Yeah. So now this one, I'm trying to, and I'm in Wikipedia, so I don't feel like reading all this.
That's fine.
But
I think like the '90s version had one of the SSEI had a supercharged version of something.
Yeah. But you know, there were no slouches. But the problem with those cars was that the interiors were just junk.
Oh yeah.
And even, you know, some of the '90s GM stuff, like when they came out with the Buick Riviera and the Oldsmobile Aurora. So the Riviera was a coupe, and
my
the
uncle
Aurora,
had one of those.
They looked great.
It was fantastic. That and a Lincoln. I was thinking of Lincoln too. Lincoln Mark 8, Mark whatever, the 2-door Lincoln.
Yeah.
Man, but that Riviera, I remember he had that thing. Man, it looked nice on the inside. Like I remember sitting in it at night with all the dash lights on.
Yeah.
I was in awe. It was like the first kind of luxury car I'd ever sat in. And just to see all the bells and whistles and doodads lit up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is amazing.
but then you do all that, and then you look at the shifter, and you could have taken that shifter out and put it in a Chevy Cavalier.
Yes. Yeah.
And then if you looked at a Camaro, every car, the GM car that had an automatic transmission had that stupid shifter. It looked like a knob with a button on top.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me that I'm paying top dollar for a Riviera, which that was, at the time that was like the competition with Lexus, right? GM's was gunning at Lexus, some of their models with this thing, and it's got the shifter out of a Cavalier.
Right.
And then you could just hear the plastic creaking in the car. The Pontiacs were the same way. And then they finally seemed to figure it out when they dropped the names in the Pontiacs and just were going like G8, G6.
Yeah.
And then they killed it.
Well, that's because it wasn't. So that's when Saturn was importing Opals. And Pontiacs were Holdens? Maybe.
Yes.
Because the G8 was the Holden I want to say Monero, but I'm probably not. No, the Monero was the Ford.
The GTO. The GTO was the Holden Monero, which
That's
was
what it
just a basic car.
But, so what's the big Holden? They just call it Holden. I don't remember the name of it. But right now, so that Holden, they don't make them anymore. But the Chevy SS is what basically what the G8 was.
Yeah.
And they just rebadged it as they rebadged that once they redesigned it. They rebadged it the Caprice for police use and the SS for civilian use.
Yeah.
It's funny that guy I was talking about, the YouTube channel Chevy Dude. He's got a Chevy SS on his lot now, but they rebadged it with the Holden badges.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Except for the steering wheel. It's like if you're gonna do it, like I don't want the if you're gonna have Holden on the back, Holden on the front, but you're gonna have the Chevy steering wheel.
Yeah,
change the badge up, but you can't because it's like inlaid in the bed. But whatever.
And then GM got real weird with their cars, especially Pontiacs. Like for Pontiacs, the interior, all the gauges and instrumentation lit up in orange, and then the steering wheel looked like a keyboard.
Yeah,
it had all kinds of and then the heads-up displays, just gimmicky stuff. Yeah. Like you need a heads-up display if you're, if you're shooting a Cat 5 ILS approach, at minimums. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Or if you're in a dogfight, do you really need to know what radio station you are? That's was some of the information that went up on the heads-up display.
Yeah, I feel like GM's. They've done a lot right, and then always have the one thing that shoots themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and it's
for like it was the interiors for a lot of those cars we were just talking about. But even like as soon as like the 08, 09s, when the Lambda platform for those big car-based SUVs like the Saturn Outlook, the Buick Enclave, GMC Acadia, and the Chevy Traverse, they came out. People love them.
Oh yeah,
I had one. I loved it until the engine blew up.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, you had it right. You're still selling these vehicles.
Yeah.
You're still selling them with those engines, though. The direct injected 3.6 liter that can grenade themselves if you don't clean out the top side of the injectors. And they don't tell people this.
Yeah. And the other thing, so they switch over to the 3.6 liter direct injection. Meanwhile, they'd been putting the 3.8 liter pushrod V6 in everything for decades.
One of the most reliable engines ever.
Smooth, quiet, but
fuel efficient.
Yeah, but we have to change it now. They go to this whatever, and and the thing about like those big Lambda SUVs was that they were so you could get them in front wheel drive only. Yeah, and that's when and that's when they stopped making the minivan. So if you wanted a minivan but didn't want to look like you had a minivan, you get the front wheel drive version of that thing.
Yep.
And then now you had a minivan. It had 3 rows. It was big. The only difference was
usable third row.
It didn't have sliders. That was the only difference.
Yep.
So, but when the Odyssey first came out, it didn't have sliders either.
Right.
It had regular doors. So,
like when we had our Buick, we had a 2010 Buick Enclave. It was fun when we bought it. The eye was missing from the Buick.
So it's like Buck.
So we called it Buck Enclave. Like this is like a porn name for a car. But so we had Buck for 5 years. I'm sorry. It was 4 years and 10 months. And then the engine blew up 2 months before it was paid off.
Of course.
Like, damn you, Buck. But it was incredibly comfortable. Like that was a miles eater. The back seats were comfortable for the girls. They couldn't kick our front seats because there was enough leg room.
Yeah.
That middle row slid back and forth, so if we ever need to put people in the back row, we slid the middle row forward, put people in the back row, a grown adult could sit back there. Super quiet, super comfortable, good engine power. I mean, we got 19 miles to the gallon average, but that's with a lot more city than highway driving.
Yeah.
Even though the engine blew on it, I would still consider getting one. The problem is I don't know if I consider getting a used one over 5 years old. Reason being is because I know that engine needs the intake the intake manifold taken off, so that the backside of the port injection system can be blasted or cleaned. And I wouldn't know if anyone's done it.
Yeah. And if you ask the guy that was selling it, oh yeah, I did that.
Oh yeah, sure. Or he won't even know what you're talking about, right?
Right.
But those vehicles, and this is why they sell a ton of them, is because they're super comfortable.
Yeah.
They're quiet. Like that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of GM vehicles now. Whether it's the Impala, the Equinox, or whatever it is, up and down the GM lineup, those cars are now quiet on the inside.
Yeah.
They got that part dead to rights. Mm-hmm. Whether their parts or longevity are going to be good, I don't know. I can't tell you. But ride comfort and quietness on the inside, if that's what you're looking for, which a lot of people are, they want it to start, they want it to be quiet, and they just want to change the wheel.
Yeah.
If those are the three things you want, I mean, GM's selling stuff at discounts.
Yeah.
For the I mean, unless it's a truck. Everyone buys trucks. Trucks is their biggest thing. No one's selling trucks at a discount right now.
No.
But if you want an Equinox or a Malibu, I don't even know if they make the Malibu anymore. Or
No,
if
I
you
don't
want
think they make any cars anymore.
Are they all gone now?
Yeah. Just like Ford stopped making cars entirely too.
Yeah.
Except for the Mustang.
I remember the Impala, the latest one. Not really an Impala. It's a front wheel drive large sedan. It's basically a Buick LaCrosse.
Yeah.
It was super quiet though when I test drove one. I wasn't mad at it. Even the old Buick LaCrosses, I like those too.
A friend of mine has one, and he got it at a steal. It's an Impala LTZ Premier.
Yeah.
And he bought it before all the craziness happened, when no one wanted cars, and gas was $2.50 a gallon, and he just wanted to run back and forth to the train station. And that thing, I mean, it's luxurious. It's got every bell and whistle you can imagine. And I think he drove it off. It was like 2 years old. He drove it off the lot for like $20,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was, if he paid that,
right?
Like, because nobody wants them,
right?
And it's like, damn, this thing's a steal. Like, I'd get this over if I didn't care about cars.
Yeah.
And didn't care about badges and names and stuff, which I'm not a status guy anyway. Like, you could go spend $40,000 for the equivalent Lexus or get this thing, and it's going to do this exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I get older, my needs and wants in a car change, right? Like now, whereas before I wanted something a little sporty, and I still kind of do, but my main thing is when I'm going down the road, I want it to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. I want it to eat bumps.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to feel the bumps anymore. And I don't even want to hear them. Like, I want it dead quiet in that car. Want a good sound system. I want a screen that I can plug my phone into, so that my Android Auto pops up on the screen. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And if a car can deliver those three things, I'm going to find the car that delivers what I want at the lowest price possible. If it's not a Lexus, I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, like, at this point in my life, who am I trying to impress?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, my cars aren't going to do it. You know what I mean? I don't think the Ford Edge, shoot, man, 7, 8, 9. That's like almost a 10-year-old car. As long as I put tires and brakes on the thing and change the oil,
yeah,
it's been running just fine. I mean, shoot, over 5 years, we only put $2,500 into it, replacing some parts here and there.
Yeah,
and that's including a set of tires and brakes.
It's funny because I was just thinking the same thing. So we have a Sienna, which is the nicest car I've ever owned.
I've ridden in it. I like it.
I mean, you want to kill miles? There you go.
Yeah.
You want to kill miles with a bunch of kids? There you go. And their stuff, you're good.
Right.
You know, it'll scoot too if you want it to. But I took my oldest to baseball practice, and the coach of his team has a Kia Carnival.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. But his is like specced out.
Those things are crazy inside.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I was like, dude, that thing's awesome.
It's a limo.
Yeah, and so we start talking. I was like, how pathetic are we? We're here like comparing the virtues of the minivans.
Yeah.
And the thing is, neither one of our wives, when we first went into minivan territory, wanted anything to do with it.
Right.
And just about everyone I know who went into minivan territory, it was the dad who said, just get a minivan. Mm-hmm. And the wife was the one that was resistant to it. And I'm like, I'll drive the van, and my wife is going back to work, so she'll drive the car because she has and I don't have much of a commute, so the minivan is going to become my car, and I'm like completely cool with it, But no, and I'm like, man, if 23-year-old me heard this conversation, he would slap the crap out of 43-year-old me.
Right.
Because, like, dude, what, how do you pick up girls in that car? The reason you have this car is because you picked up a girl.
Right. And you've also picked up 3 kids.
Yeah. So, but, like,
you picked up 3 stragglers.
But then we're talking about minivans, and they're like, oh, I said, I used to think that the king of the minivans was the Odyssey.
Yep.
But now I'm looking at this Kia. I'm like, I think the Kia is now the Kia is like the Gulfstream of minivans.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I've seen a couple of reviews on it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy what they're putting inside these things.
Yeah,
like I almost don't want to drive it. Like I want my kid to be old enough to drive me around in it.
Yeah,
because that middle row, I mean, on that Carnival, if it's the one I think it is, it reclines and a footrest pops out.
Yeah. And then he's got TV screens on the back seats.
Yeah.
And each kid can play their own games on the TV screens.
I can play my own games while my child drives.
And so then I drive the Sienna, which we have the movies thing that pops down from the top, and there's the captain's chairs back there. And I'm jealous because the kids, my wife will go back there and sit in the back with the kids while I'm driving to God knows where we're going.
Right.
And she's back there watching movies with the kids. I'm like, this isn't fair.
Right.
I'm stuck up here. I can't, I have to listen to you guys watching a movie, which I'm sure is awesome. But nope, I have to drive. So, I share it like, no, kid, you drive. I'm sitting back here.
So you want to know why I'm not looking at a minivan? Because of how well they hold their value.
Yeah.
They're expensive on the used market. Like, I was surprised. Like, I can almost get a 3-row SUV for less than the minivan.
Yeah.
And which sucks. I was ready. Yeah. I'm ready to go buy the minivan. I'll drive it. I don't care. But then I saw the prices on them. Mm-hmm. One, nobody gets rid of them.
Yeah.
So in my area, I think I looked into a 25-mile radius. Now, don't get me wrong. I want leather in it. I want some niceties in it. Yeah. Whatever.
You're not Pioneer.
No. Please. What is this? The 1920s? Come on now. No. I think there were maybe 15 total. Mm-hmm. And most of them had like 175,000 miles on them. Yeah. And they were nice on the inside, but it's like, okay, you're looking at 175,000 miles on this thing. It's like, eesh.
Yeah, so we bought ours 5 years ago, and I was just looking around to see what did I get for this thing. So the sticker on it was $43,000. I mean, if I ever thought someone would spend $43,000 on a minivan, and the thing is, there's a trim package above the one that we got. So we have the XLE Premium. Mm-hmm. There's a Limited, which goes above that. And I'm like, and those were like 50. I'm like, I think because a minivan can't cost more than 50, so it's like 49.5.
Right.
And I'm like, who's going to spend 49.5 on a minivan? And then I saw the Limited, and I was like, I would.
like that Kia. I mean, I like that thing is worth probably every bit of that $50,000.
Yeah.
Now, can you get one? No.
Right.
Because they're sold out.
Yeah.
It's like the Telluride. It's sold out.
Yeah.
Unless you want to pay $15,000 over sticker.
Right. If I'm paying $15,000 over sticker, it's going to be for like a Supra.
Well, I mean,
I'm not doing that for a van.
That Telluride was, I mean, $15,000 over sticker puts you at close to $60,000.
Yeah.
If I'm paying $60,000, I might have to go look at the Lexus. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, okay, for that I may want the badge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're getting the same vehicle.
Right.
You know, if you're getting an RX versus a Kia Telluride for 60-something grand, okay, now it's a cross shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, going back, so the used car market, and this is where we started. We're talking about the prices of the used car market. I do think in about a month, you'll start to see some prices come down. Now, you're going to see the stragglers, though. Mm-hmm. Some of the cars that the dealers are trying to at least try to make back their money on stuff they bought a month or two ago, but prices were still high, or even 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Because another thing that's hurting them right now are the interest rates.
Yeah.
The days of 0.9% financing, 0% financing, 1.5%, I think that's gone.
Yeah.
I think now prime rates are like 4, 4.5, 5, which is crazy to me. I mean, that's what it was back in, I want to say close to 2012, like 10 back then. I mean, back when, before the interest rates just took a nosedive. 'Cause I think on the Ford Edge we initially paid like 6%. Now we refinanced it since then.
Yeah.
But now I think prime rate for cars is like 4.5, 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're talking about 3, 4, 5 percentage points more than what people were paying before. You know, that monthly payment goes up. Plus, with all these people losing their cars, their credit's going to go. I mean, the credit scores are going to go down.
Yep.
Right. I just don't know if they're going to have enough people that have the credit to buy a car, although they'll finance anybody. But I mean, if prime is 5, I mean, subprime is probably close to 12, 15% on a car. And there are some places out there that finance at 20%, which why you buy a car at 20% unless you're never going to pay that car off.
You buy it from the mafia?
Yeah.
So, if you don't make your payment, they come break your legs?
Man, if we ever want to do an episode on like the payday loan people, man, that's messed up stuff. It's literally, you're taking out a loan that they know you're never going to pay back.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. But and basically all they do is they give you the loan.
Mm-hmm.
You pay for like 6 to 8 months. Then you can't pay. They take the car back. They resell it. Like those buy now, pay here people.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's
buy
what
here,
they do.
Pay here, yep.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they know you're never going to be able to pay that car off.
Yep.
So they get a continuing roll of inventory.
Yeah, they repo it for you, and they just sell it back again.
That's what they're doing.
To somebody else.
It's a horrible way to do business.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I worked at a hospital. And a couple guys I worked with bought some of those cars. And one dude actually, he fell in some rough times. Credit took a hit.
Yeah.
Divorce, blah, blah, blah. So the only way he could get a reliable vehicle was to do that.
Yeah.
And he did it. But he wasn't a dummy. He paid extra into it and actually paid the thing off. But they have some stipulations. Some of those things, you can't take it out. You can't move out of state with it, and it's just it's kind of weird. The one guy was telling me. Now the other dude, he'd always buy one right around tax time, and then right around Christmas it would get repoed.
Right.
And then he'd go and buy another one, and it was just this constant revolving door of bad decisions that he just was never able to break out of.
Yeah.
But, he'd pull up, some of the cars were nice looking, but then you look at the odometer and be like, oh.
215,000 miles.
Yeah, this 5-year-old 3 Series has got, 200,000 miles on the clock. So congratulations, you own an out-of-warranty BMW that you're making payments on. And then it'll be pay by the week, So if you didn't pay it by on time that week, they'd come and snatch it from you. So
let me ask you this. So one of the reasons why the car prices might come down is because of repos, right? Now, obviously, when people buy these cars, I mean, I guess on the Carfax it could say repossession on it, but if let's say people don't know they're buying a repo. If it's a 2-3-year-old car, not too shabby on the miles, would you take a chance on buying a repo?
I mean, it's no different than a lease return.
So my concern is this: the person repoing the car probably isn't gentle with it, right? They're probably trying to get in, get out.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of damage could a tow truck driver do to the thing? Would it be engine or transmission, just crushing, or do you think it's just cosmetics?
I think it's probably cosmetic. I don't think so say the car's nosed in, it's front wheel drive, and the parking brake's on, and it's the vehicle's in park.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to get in, and you ever watch those repo shows where they repo in cars?
Yeah.
So they come in with like the not the rollback, but like just this regular crane. But they can get in quick. I mean, these dudes are good.
Right.
So they get in, they just lift up the back, they drag it out. They'll stop and then they'll put it on a proper tow. So it's not like they're dragging it from there, from one spot to the other.
Right.
And you'll see the wheels like skipping because it's not doing what it should be doing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough to say, it's going to die.
Right.
I think the poor maintenance of the previous owner is probably going to make it die anyway.
Yeah, but let's say it's 3 years old. 2-3 years old, only 30,000 miles on it. Let's say they didn't even change the oil.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a long enough time without maintenance to have any major issues.
Right.
Especially your first oil change. Even if the dealership isn't doing it, let's say you negotiate in the price. Say, hey, look, I want a synthetic oil change before it leaves here.
Yeah.
So now you're running it with synthetic oil. It's getting nice and lubricated. I really don't think there's too much damage that could be done in 30,000 miles on a transmission or an engine.
And the service intervals for these new cars now is, it's not 3 months, 3,000 miles.
No. But, I mean, even with mine being a 2021, I think it's every 7,000 miles you're supposed to change the engine.
So if it has 30,000 miles on it, say they change the oil once.
Right.
It's only 2 changes behind.
Yeah, and most dealerships are offering the oil changes with the car anyway.
Yeah.
So you just got to take it in. So it doesn't even cost them. But like I said, though, let's say no oil change, no oil filter change, no air filter change, nothing for 30,000 miles. All they did was put gas in it and go.
Mm-hmm.
Drove it like they stole it. I just don't think there's enough damage that could have been done.
Yeah.
Where I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, because and then who knows the situation that the person was in prior, and I think I'd also look at the kind of car it was as well.
Yeah.
Like, I've always, people want to go and if they want to buy that M3, and like, dude, I would not buy an M3 from if it was like a 2-owner car, a 3-owner car, because that third owner is probably some 18-year-old kid from Severna Park. Mommy and Daddy bought that thing for him, and he just got it in that car for the last year and a half. He's only getting rid of it because it's about to die.
Right. The clutch is like slipping.
Oh yeah,
and he can't get it in for second gear grinds.
Yeah,
that's why he's getting. But I'm talking like a 3-year-old minivan. Let's say a 3-year-old Honda Odyssey, a 3-year-old Sienna.
I wouldn't be any more leery of that than I would be a rental car, which is where a lot of these cars are coming from anyway, from rental fleets.
Yeah, although I think most of those are gone. Because I think in the beginning, in like 2020, 2019, I think Hertz and Enterprise sold off a ton of their cars.
Yeah. So
what they have now is all new.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if you're going to see a lot of those rental cars out there anymore. Or right now, I mean, don't run next 3-4 years, sure.
Yeah.
But right now, I think they're holding on to what they have because they can't replace it either. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Would I be cautious? Maybe if I saw because you're going to see a lot of different cars now starting to come back on the market, in the used market.
Yeah.
The new one's a little bit more hazy. The new market's going to be a little more hazy as far as how they come back. Because a lot of manufacturers are apparently holding on to the cars. They're not shipping them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying, because they don't have the chips. They're building them and they're going to put the chips in later. Well, no, they put a lot of chips already in.
Yeah.
They're already increasing production, meaning they might be not putting chips in for like heated seats and stuff.
Yeah.
But they have chips in there for the car to run.
Yeah.
And do everything else. So I think there's a larger game being played with the new cars, whereas the used cars, someone's going to have to let the floodgates go eventually because banks don't want to just be sitting on these things.
Yeah.
And especially as new car prices, as dealerships start selling back at MSRP and not over, people are going to trade in those used cars.
Oh, right.
And so, I don't know. I think,
so they'll get that
2 to 3 months from now. 2 months from now, I think you're going to see prices on used cars start to normalize. I'm not going to say they're going to go back to where they were,
Right.
But I think you'll start to see those that $5,000 to $8,000 range come back into play. Whereas right now it's either a $3,000 car or a $9,000 car.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much in the middle.
Yeah, that $3,000 car is beater.
Yeah, rough shape.
But I mean, and that's the thing. I remember when I bought my first car back in 1999, I paid $2,000 for it. You know, it was fine. I drove that car for 3-4 years. You know, never really gave me any problems. Had some electrical issues, but
I mean,
you know,
I got
late
my
'80s
Taurus-
GM.
I got my Taurus show for $5,000.
Yeah.
That was
So
the one I'd let get away. Should have kept it forever.
yeah, but I mean, some these new cars that are coming out. I don't know. I don't get excited about them anymore.
Yeah, I remember this was one thing we wanted to talk about with the new cars coming out. Is there anything out there you're like, oh, I can't wait for this?
So I looked up a list of them. You know, some of this stuff. One of the car websites or whatever. Which one is this? Hotcars.com. Sounds like a porn site.
Yeah, it does.
But I also cross-reference it to Car and Driver.
Yeah.
And, so I've always respected Car and Driver for... I remember when I was a kid, my dad every Christmas would get me a subscription to Car and Driver.
I used to love Car and Driver and Motor Trend. Those were my two magazines to go to until, I'd say probably about 5-6 years ago. Because every comparison, they put the Mazda at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Like, best big SUV, best full-size SUV.
Mazda CX-9.
Mazda CX-9. But in the review, well, you can't put anyone in the back row, in the third row, because it's too small.
So, yeah.
So why the purpose of buying a 3-row SUV isn't so you can wing it into the corners.
Right.
It's so you can fit 3 rows of people in it.
It's not to heel toe and apex turns.
Yeah.
It's to put a bunch of, kids or...
I need to move bodies.
Yeah. Or, hey, you and the neighborhood idiots are going out to the bar. Let's cram a bunch of people in here.
Right. We want to. You only want one driver for the guy who's not gonna. For the one guy who's not gonna drink, and everyone else wants to booze.
Yeah.
We all want to be able to fit in one car.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you've got 3 years. But the third one really isn't usable.
Right.
But hey, watch me heel toe and apex this turn.
Right. It's like, well, Mike, you got the third row. You're like, no, I don't.
Right. I remember when we used to when I was I guess in high school and someone was driving, you'd be like, run down to the car, like someone would say shotgun, and then the next thing you want to call is no bitch.
Right. You know what that means.
So you run it out like shotgun, no bitch.
Right. Yeah.
So, then the last two guys got to fight over, and I had a buddy that was really short, and he'd always be like shotgun, no bitch. I'd be like, dude, you're like not even 5 feet tall.
Yeah, no, you're in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry for your luck, but this is going to be your life. You got bitch.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this list of cars that this website said were cool. Acura Integra is coming back. It has 4 doors. Now they did make a 4-door Integra.
They did, but I mean, you want to know what it is? It's a TSX.
Yeah, this is saying it's the ILX is what it replaces.
Sorry, that's what I meant. TSX ILX replaced the TSX,
which replaced the RSX, which replaced the Integra.
Well, the RSX was a 2-door.
Yeah,
but 4 doors wise, it was the TSX, which was the European Honda Accord.
Yeah,
but they brought it over as an Acura. Then they made the ILX, which was just a Civic.
Yeah,
and so this Integra is supposed to replace that.
It says like, based on the Honda Civic Si. I'll just get to the Si.
Yeah, I'm not geeked out over a Civic Si.
And if you're going to be an Integra, like Integra Type R, that came in I think it was white, red, and that weird yellow egg yolk looking color. Like, let's be legit with it,
Right.
A stupid SUV, the Kia Niro, not excited at all.
God.
Alfa Romeo Tonale. Guess what? Stupid SUV.
Broken. It's already broken. It hasn't even left the factory. It's broken.
The Maserati Grecale.
A Maserati?
Yeah, stupid SUV,
can't afford
broken and expensive.
And I can't afford it. Yeah.
Let's see what the Mercedes-Benz EQE, which supposedly is going to it's like the E version of the S Class, but it looks different.
It's the electric one.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So Jason Caminisa, who's an Instagram guy, YouTube guy, who does cars, reviewed it and completely crapped on it. It was like, this thing is it's not good at anything. So
before you go on, Mercedes used to be the luxury brand. Like an S Class was the epitome of luxury.
Oh, look, Saddam Hussein drove one.
Right. But
every evil dictator had an S Class.
Right. It came with the package.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of my dream cars was an S500 from a 2006 S500.
Beautiful car.
Or an S600 with the V12.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous cars. Could move, quiet, but feel like the seats were comfortable. Like you felt like when you sat in that car, it cost more to make.
Yeah.
If you sit in an E-Class or even a C-Class right now, it's no better. The materials are no better than your Ford Fusion.
Yeah.
It's no quieter than your Ford Fusion.
Yeah.
It's got no more technology than your Ford Fusion. So why am I paying the Mercedes-Benz 20 grand or 15 grand more for a C-Class than your Ford Fusion?
With that 3-pointed star on the grill.
But so for me, that Mercedes was their certain car. Wait, I feel like once they brought the A-Class car over, that was it.
Well, then they had that
it.
Stupid. What was the? It was a little hatchback looking thing. It was the CLK or CL something compressor.
They had a C230 compressor. But
yeah,
it wasn't. It was a little hatchback. It was a C230, and they had a sedan and a hatch version of it.
It's a baby Benz.
Yes, and those got panned.
Yeah,
and
the thing is,
figure they would learn their lesson.
Well, it's like when BMW made the 318 Ti, which was a little hatchback. It looked like a 3 Series, but the engine was made by Peugeot.
Yep.
It was a.
And for me, when BMW brought the 2 Series and the 1 Series over, sorry, you lost me. Or the X1.
Yeah.
You are a luxury car.
Yeah.
You don't make small, compact cars. I don't care how badly you want to get someone into the brand. Mm-hmm. You cheapened your brand when Mercedes brought the A-Class and BMW did the 1 Series.
Yeah.
That might go over in Europe. It doesn't go over well here.
Right.
And it's why Lexus hasn't brought anything over smaller than the I Series.
Yep.
You know, they tried with like the CT, which was the hatchback version, but that was still almost the same size as the I. I don't know. I'm just like...
Lexus does have that stupid Prius-based whatever.
That was the HS.
Yeah.
But they don't make it anymore.
Yeah.
They said, nope, we're not going to
cheapen the brand. I did see one with the HS with the F Sport badge on it. I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense.
That makes zero sense.
Like, you know. So then... Oh, here's one. The Ferrari Puro Sangue.
You lost me at Ferrari.
It's an SUV. Why the F does Ferrari need an SUV?
They don't. Well, it's like the Lamborghini Urus.
Yeah, stupid. The only one that I'm excited about, and I'll get to that. Well, there's two. I think they have the Chevrolet Corvette Z06, of course.
But it's the Corvette's not the Corvette it used to be.
No,
the Camaro is what the Corvette used to be.
Yeah,
the everyman sports car.
Yeah, yeah. This thing is now it's mid-engine. It's
over $100,000, but it's not. I'm not spending. The everyman can't buy that anymore.
Yeah, I'm not spending $100,000 on a Chevy.
No,
I'm not doing it. So then you have the BMW XM. It's ugly. BMW is like I thought Chris Bangle ruined BMW, and then whoever's doing it now is like, hold my beer. Like
the new front end is god awful
because it used to have the subdued double kidney grill.
But they're all doing it.
What's the corporate fascia?
Lexus with the grill they put in a couple years ago.
Yeah, and then
the front end is all grill.
Yeah, and then you've got when Acura had the Bugs Bunny bucktooth,
the beak.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So there's the two cars I actually am kind of excited about. One is the Nissan Z because they're going back to I always think the Z got a bad rap because when it first came out, they brought the 350Z, and it was kind of cool. Like it had all those new Nissan lines and blah blah blah. Then they did the 370Z.
Yep.
So Nissan let that car they didn't do a redesign quickly enough.
That's when they had their issues with Renault and Carlos Ghosn. When he was going to jail, they let the interiors stay in those cars way too long.
Oh yeah.
You know, they had the orange lights on the inside. They needed, to me, the Z design, the exterior design didn't really change that much. And they could have gotten away with that if they had just modernized the interior. But they had that same 3-spoke steering wheel with
the cheap looking aluminum, but it was just paint. It would scratch off.
It was literally the GM move, right?
Yeah.
Nice looking car. Super reliable. I mean, that 3.5 liter engine is super reliable.
Yeah.
They didn't put the CVT in it, so it had a nice transmission in it. But when you got inside, it looked cheap as shit.
Yeah. But now the new Z, it takes a lot back to the old Datsun 280.
Yeah.
And it even goes back to the 300ZX.
Yep.
It has some cues from that, so that's cool.
Nice looking car.
The car that I think is the coolest out of all of them is the Toyota GR Corolla. Like, it's a little hot hatch Corolla.
Wait. So they brought they called it the Corolla Cross. Is this them changing the name of it to something that doesn't sound stupid?
No, this is a Corolla. It's not a Cross.
Okay.
And that I remember the commercial. It was a bunch of
Millennials
dumb Gen Zs or whatever traveling because they have all kinds of money to travel with.
Of course,
who are these people?
without a job.
Yeah, unemployed. Oh, I'm an early Dogecoin investor. But no, this is it's the Toyota Gazoo Racing, which is I guess something.
Stick with GR. Don't bring Gazoo.
Yeah,
Come on now.
but it's got a 1.3
No, I'm out.
3-cylinder.
I'm out more.
Weight. 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet.
What the heck did they put in? Like, what did you bolt onto that 1.3 liter?
Steroids.
Yeah, it was supercharger and a turbocharger.
Yeah. And the
You want to know what they bolted onto it? A V8.
Yeah, the 3-cylinder is just the starter for the real engine.
We bolted an engine onto the engine.
So, and the GR4 has all-wheel drive.
I don't know.
So, and I'm looking at this, but I go through and the dumb SUVs don't do anything for me.
You want to know what gets me? Okay. The GMC Savannah. Hear me out. This company Explorer takes like a GMC van and just pimps it out. Like super comfortable middle, like captain's chairs, the bed, the jet. It's like it's a conversion van.
Yeah. But inside it feels like a private jet.
Yeah. Like the problem is though,
You have to drive it.
well, no, not just that. I mean, I'm sure it's super comfortable to drive. Problem is, like a used one, it's like $70,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not like the old conversion vans back in the day, where you could pick one up for like $6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They had the boob tube TV and that goofy UHF antenna on it, or whatever.
yeah. The boomerang.
Yeah.
Love the boomerang. I always thought the boomerang kind of made it.
Yeah.
like that kind of made the.
I remember my sister's friend's dad had one, and we always thought it was because our two families were real close. So like, sometimes they take all the kids to the movies, and like, I would go with them, and they drive and sit in this thing like the back seat folded into a bed.
We had We had the Ford conversion van. It was also done by Explorer back in the day. Man, I didn't know how good I had it in that thing. My dad would pack 3-4 kids on the baseball team to go to a game. Literally just pick them all up and stop by each house in the neighborhood, pick them up. We're going to the baseball game. Man, those things were awesome.
Really, like the center console was made out of like wood.
Yeah.
Not like faux wood, but like it was
wood
piece like this table wood.
Yeah.
It had like the holes drilled in it for the cups.
Yeah.
And then just like bad 80s like plush.
Honestly, God, if I saw one and I knew like it was reliable, I'd probably buy one. I'd make that my third car.
I've seen a lot of older dudes driving those things. Like dudes in like their 50s,
had those old stupid reliable engines, the
Yeah.
old Ford van engines and the GM engines,
3-speed transmission with overdrive.
You weren't going anywhere quick in those things, but you were getting
You were
there
getting
in
there.
style.
Yeah.
And you were getting there in comfort.
Yep. And then, when I look at some of the new stuff, like people get all amped up over EVs. They don't do anything for me.
I'm not down with it.
Like, now, there are certain parts of it, like a lot of them, the acceleration is crazy.
I get that part.
But I'm not into tech. Like, the last time I went to I used to go to the car show every year in DC. Mm-hmm. And the car show used to be the week between Christmas and New Year's. But they moved it because that time of year, it's too late to be say it was this year. It's too late for 23, but too early for the 24 model year.
Right.
So they made it later in the year. But I'd go to it, and it was nothing like when I was a kid, my dad would take us because he'd get like half-price tickets. It was something to do with the kids during Christmas break. And we'd go to it, and, they'd have the car that they had like cut in half. And you could see like the mechanical stuff, and they'd brag about the engines and transmissions and power and all this. And now it's just, look at this tech. I'm like, you tech nerds have ruined cars.
Yeah. Other than even like the S Plaid, right? Other than like the insane acceleration, which apparently makes people nauseous.
Yeah.
I get that. I get the novelty act that is. Okay. In everyday life, other than, the couple days of the year where you just punch it to get that feel, like that awesome acceleration. Day to day, though, it doesn't look, it looks somewhat well built, but it doesn't look like the interior materials are any better than a Mercedes.
So there's some complaints.
And you're paying Mercedes prices for it.
Yeah. No, there's some complaints because that, you'll hear whistling. There'll be weird wear areas. Stuff will fall apart on the inside of them. And it's like, well, I'm spending a ton of money on this car. But you have to remember, they're a brand new manufacturer. And that's where if I had S Plaid money, I'm buying a Porsche Taycan.
Right.
Because Porsche makes cars. So, sure, it's all the Tesla was first, and that's great, and Elon Musk is super cool. But Porsche's an auto manufacturer. Tesla's a tech company masquerading as an auto manufacturer.
Right. It's a battery company.
Yeah. And for me, like, there's still the range issues and stuff I don't like. And if I had an S Plaid, dude, I would get 100 miles out of it because I would just be punching the hell out of it everywhere.
Yeah.
So, like, is it really? And then once that novelty wears off, and my wife is angry at me because I've given her whiplash 1,000 times, like every traffic light,
and that payment comes out each month.
Yeah,
you're not going to be happy with that.
Yeah,
especially when you could have gotten something really cool for half, like 40, 45 grand.
Yeah,
you could have gotten the Kia Carnival for 45 grand maybe.
Yeah,
and you could have just been chilling in that thing.
Oh yeah, just killing miles. Oh. What are you doing, Mr. Tesla? Oh, I've got to wait 2 hours for my battery to charge. Okay, I'll see you at the beach when I get there.
I'm going to take a nap in the seat that reclines and
my play video games.
Yeah,
but I just they don't do anything for me. The hybrids don't do anything for me. And there's some cool new Rivian is coming out with an SUV.
I heard the truck is getting panned by reviewers, and I'm sure the SUV again though it's a new car.
Yeah,
it's a new car manufacturer.
Yeah,
they might get the design right, but are they going to get everything else right?
Right, and you have a certain expectation for a vehicle to do. I don't know what a new Rivian truck costs. It's not full size truck size.
It's a Ranger size, right?
Yeah. So Ranger, Tacoma, Colorado. So for the money you're spending out, I'm sure you could probably get a pretty tricked out Tundra.
Right.
And I can tow a ton with it. I can, it's a Toyota.
And I don't have to worry about range.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, well, they got charging stations. Okay. Range anxiety is a real thing. And it's not like with your car, you got your fuel gauge. Mm-hmm. And if it says you got an eighth of a tank, you got an eighth of a tank. If your electric car says you got 32 miles, and all of a sudden, because you had to punch it to pass somebody, your car stops running.
Yeah.
And is now in limp mode.
Yeah.
Because it needs to get you to the side of the road. That is a real thing.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. People have run out of gas before. I get it. But you want to know what? I can call AAA. They'll come with a gas tank. They'll fill me up, and I can get to a gas station.
Yep.
With the Tesla, they're going to have to tow you to the nearest charging station where you're going to have to wait another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Before you can go anywhere.
Yep.
And to me, it's not worth it.
And this stuff never happens when the weather's nice, in a nice area.
Right.
You're always in the rain in the hood.
Always.
When that goes down.
And so for me, it's just not there yet. And because the other thing is, okay, now what if you get towed? You get towed to a rest stop, and the charging stations are broken.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, you're just thinking hypotheticals. Okay, but these hypotheticals have happened.
Yeah.
Because and then you're hoping that you're at a supercharge station, which can get you full within 30 minutes or an hour, versus one of these slow charging stations, which take 2 hours plus.
Or what happens when it's a busy holiday weekend and
Now?
everyone else is charging their car.
Yep.
So now you have to wait for all these other dudes to finish charging their cars. So, I'm just
not there.
Yeah.
I wish they would come up with. I wish they would have come up with more efficient internal combustion engines, which I mean they kind of did with beefing up the 4 cylinders a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think there was probably more they could have done on that front than to go straight electric, because, and we've talked about this before, it's not like the electric cars. Well, after you produce them, and once the battery dies, what do you do? The battery, like the recycling part of the whole thing, like, is it really that much better for the environment for what you've kind of given up as far as convenience goes with the internal combustion engine, where we already have the infrastructure for them? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying let's not improve, but like, they've rolled these electric cars out and they haven't rolled out the infrastructure to recharge them, and they did not absolutely come out with the technology in the beginning to fast charge them. I mean, it's not like your phone where you can plug it in with a USB-C cable, with the right type of cable, and all of a sudden you got a full charge in 15, 20 minutes. I mean, you can do that with some of the Tesla superchargers on a Tesla only.
Yeah. And
get to, I think it's 50% in 30 minutes or something like that. Okay, but it's still only 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then what if you have another, so
well, you're still got a long way to go, right?
And the range estimations are based upon ideal conditions.
Yeah.
So now you're stop and go traffic. I'm sure stop and go is worse than just regular speed, just because of, Newton. So, sure. So now you're on the New Jersey Turnpike, stop and go traffic. It's hot. You have your AC running. So now your 30-minute charge got you 150 miles, and it only got you 98 miles.
Right.
And now you're stopped at the next rest stop to charge up again. And I think they're great for probably around town.
Sure.
But I don't know of anyone who their sole vehicle, any family where their sole vehicle is an EV. They've always got this standard car, regular internal combustion engine powered vehicle there too.
And the other thing is, what gains are you really getting over, let's say, some of these hybrids that are out there?
Yeah. Like
a Camry hybrid. Yeah, 55 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
In the city. Is it really, are you saving that much of the planet by not buying the hybrid?
Right.
You know what I mean? But I don't know. But you're right. I mean, the new cars that are coming out, and this is another good reason to wait a month or two to see if these used car prices come down. Because, I mean, at least in your and my case, the used cars are just, I'm more excited about getting a nice used car that I've always wanted versus something new that I'm just not there. I don't think a new car now, I don't think there's nothing in it that I'm like, oh, you couldn't have gotten this 5-10 years ago.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you, like the vehicle I want, it's in this neighborhood. It's your neighbor's blue F-350 diesel that hasn't moved. I'm like, I want that truck.
Should put a note on its windshield.
I think it's it's a 7.3, but that's IDI.
Yeah, you not get rid of that. You can put a 10 I bet you if you threw out a crazy number, he'd probably still say no.
The thing hasn't moved in 6 months.
Is that, are you talking about the one at the top of the road?
Yeah, the blue. It's like a '97 F350.
That dude's never getting rid of it.
Yeah, standard cab.
Yeah,
The old boxy truck. I'm like, that thing's awesome.
he's never gonna get rid of it.
Yeah,
And if he was, because he's a car dealer.
yeah,
So if he was gonna get rid of it, it'd be gone by now.
yeah,
That's like his forever car.
yeah.
Because I've seen he brings home. I'd say he brings home a new car a month, like not a new car, but a different car a month.
Oh yeah,
That truck has always been there.
yeah,
And he uses it probably once every weekend.
yeah.
Parks in the same spot every time.
Just to tease me.
That's right. But hopefully, if you're waiting for a used car price to come down, hopefully you guys, hopefully you get a deal. Hopefully I get a deal. And something where I can finally fit a bunch of people in there. But thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Please share. Get yourself a VPN, drivewaybeerspodcast.com. Click on that private internet access link. Get yourself a VPN. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.